Joining us now, George Carlson, former Mississippi Supreme Court Justice. Good morning, Mr. Carlson. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Gerard, and good to be with you. Just looking out the window at this impending weather we have coming.
Yeah, we have been talking about that this morning, as you probably know, and are concerned about that as well, and hopeful that it doesn't intensify, kind of stays about the way it is and runs through Mississippi rather rapidly and gets on out of here. Don't want a repeat of last week, don't want any severe storms, and certainly don't want any tornadic activity. Man, we have had our share of that, so hopefully we'll be good. But, Judge, want to have you on to talk about something very important as part of our constitutional process, and that is the confirmation of a Supreme Court justice to the United States Supreme Court that the U.S. Senate is charged with advice and consent on nominees. That has been occurring over the last week. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson was nominated by the president, and as you typically can expect, it's almost a predictable sort of partisan line of questioning. The Republicans, of course, are much more harsh, shall we say, in their questioning and digging a little deeper. Some of them, such as Senator Cruz with his props on some of her opinions on the various cases, brings a big board into the chamber for that. Your thoughts, sir, on how you think that's been going so far?
Well, first of all, Gerard, I don't think that what the Republicans are doing could be considered any more harsh than the way that the Senate Judiciary Committee, led by then Senator Biden back in 1991, treated Justice Thomas.
Yeah.
So the Republicans seem to have at least stayed on track as far as maybe looking at Judge Jackson's record, staying on track with the record, and which is fair game. That's what you want to find out. She's got a paper trail as an appellate judge and a former district judge, and so they've been looking at those opinions, and so I think that's part of the process to go after the record.
Right.
But it's been interesting. On another point, I know we sooner or later would get to this as far as the impending vote, probably sometime next week by the Senate Judiciary Committee. But it popped up on a news app. You may have seen it on my phone about 9:58 this morning that Maine Senator Susan Collins will support Judge Jackson, and that may tip it. Take care of that situation as far as any possible tie vote.
Yeah, you're right, Judge. I saw that as well. I guess it's fair to say that for a judge in this case, or a person who is nominated to serve on the highest court in the land, that if they are a judge and have been a judge, that their opinions and their rulings, I mean, that's their resume for the most part. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. That's what you're looking at. You're not so much looking at a personal resume as far as personal life and other things. Certainly, you look at education and what all she or any nominee has done, but you're going to look at the opinions to try to get an idea on judicial philosophy. No doubt that she's a liberal-leaning judge, but Gerard, as I've said before, having served on an appellate court on the state Supreme Court, and when I was at the Supreme Court, I've always said I don't want 9 robots on the court, in lockstep, and every opinion 9-0 and everybody agreeing. We've got to hash out the law and look at each case and get pros and cons, get different ideas on the case. And so I think it's good to have a diverse court, and even with the evidently impending confirmation of Judge Jackson, it will still be a 6-3 conservative-leaning court, depending on what Chief Justice Roberts does on any given day.
With respect to some of the questions that have occurred, Senator Marsha Blackburn, I guess, earned a great deal of notoriety when she asked the judge to define a woman. And the judge had an interesting question. My question for you, Judge Carlson, is that a fair and relevant question? And do you believe that Judge Brown answered that appropriately?
Well, as a matter of full disclosure, I didn't watch much of the hearings. I did read a lot of articles I saw and a reference to that, and I can't recall exactly how Judge Jackson responded, but I think it's a fair question because it goes to, again, cases that could come before the court. Judge Jackson, I would imagine, tried to avoid being locked into a position so that she could be open as far as if the case got to the court on how she might vote. But what exactly was her response?
Yeah, she very abruptly said, I guess with a little bit of hesitation, it's fair to say, but I thought the response was abrupt, that no, she couldn't. And Senator Blackburn said, you can't? in that tone. And she said no, that she wasn't a biologist, essentially, was her reason for not offering a more succinct and direct answer to that question. And then Senator Kennedy from Louisiana asked, when does life begin? And once again, she really evaded answering that question. So he kind of followed that up by asking, which I thought was very relevant, when do protections under our Constitution, under our laws, begin to attach to a human? And she really couldn't answer that as well. I don't know, Judge. That seems to me to be fairly relevant because that's really at the heart of abortion and the whole subject matter of abortion.
Yeah, exactly. When does life begin? And also, as you say, define a woman, because we know all that's now in the news. And certainly, I'm kind of shocked at her response. I think I would have come up with a better answer than saying I don't know. But I can recall a case that we had, Gerard, when I was at the Supreme Court. And on a three-judge panel, I won't name the other two justices who were on the panel looking at the case to recommend to the full court. It was a wrongful death case, and a pregnant woman had been killed in a car wreck, and I think the child was like 6 months along, in the womb, 6 months, 3 months from being born. And so one of the issues and there was a wrongful death suit for that unborn child. So that was, when does life begin? Is a viable lawsuit for that unborn child? And we all agreed, the three judges said, we all believe that life begins at conception. But we've got to look at the law in Mississippi, and there was a criminal law that said that you could bring a murder charge for an unborn child who was 3 months from being born. So the 5 or 6 months. So we said we'll rely on that case. So we didn't try to somehow plug in new law saying that life began at conception. We just said, based on Mississippi law, that this was a viable fetus in the womb at 6 months.
Yeah, and of course that's
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that I think that's exactly what is going to come before the Supreme Court here in a couple of months. The Dobbs case filed by our Attorney General, that's essentially what I think is at the heart of that case.
Exactly. And so all those questions are fair game, and that's what you want to look at, to try to find out what the judicial philosophy of the one thing, and I'll say this, when I was looking, I went ahead and looked up when I saw that Susan Collins was going to vote, and if you got about 30 seconds, her quote was, no matter where you fall on the ideological spectrum, anyone who has watched several of the last Supreme Court confirmation hearings would reach the conclusion that the process is broken. And I agree, it's got
good statement.
Attack on both Republicans and Democrats.
Agree. Good statement.
So, yeah.
Judge,
So,
appreciate you coming on. Thank you for your insight, sir. Very valuable, and we'll see how this plays out. Probably get you on again after the confirmation to get your take.
okay. Well, it ought to be interesting, Gerard, and appreciate it. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. You too, and stay safe with the weather. We'll be back on middays. Stay